is now back in his capacity as a senator.
Thank you very much. It really is good to be here with my colleagues from the House. And by the way, I don't know who provided all those goodies out back. This is on the down low, all right? But thank you to the House Administration Committee. It is good to be here. And I want to thank Chairwoman Klobuchar and Chairman Stile for this hearing. Number one, I just want to thank all of you for the work you do, especially everybody who's been involved since January 6th. I mean, obviously, incredibly traumatic event. I know folks suffered more than our officers. And it's just astonishing because for a lot of the officers, the experience has not left them. And I also just want to acknowledge that, as is always the case after that happened, there have to be investigations. There are different points of view about what and how it happened, who should have done what. But bottom line, I think you all have done a really good job. And I, just as a person who serves here and benefited from the work that you all have done, I want to express my gratitude to you. So thank you. I do want to just go back, Chief Manger, to some of the questions that Mr. Morelli was asking about mental health. I mean, that's a tough topic. Officers are tough people, and they do their job, and they have no expectation that they'll do anything less than what is required. But on the end of the day, some of the experiences that our officers had were pretty tough. And also, I wonder whether at times when there has been so much political discussion about what happened, who was at fault, what does it mean, that diminishes the reality of what folks on the front line did that day to protect us here. So maybe you can just talk about morale and what we can do to be supportive of the people who protected us and stood up and did their duty.
So certainly January 6th had a devastating impact on morale. And a lot of it was directed toward the officers feeling that the department, the leadership, let them down. Mm-hmm. Things as simple as just having the equipment that they needed, they didn't have. But as time went on, and I guess the political discussion about January 6th did in fact impact my officers as well. They felt like they were doing, the job they were paid to do, acted very bravely and fought courageously that day. And then you had folks, frankly, no offense, on both sides of the aisle, who were critical of had their own agendas for about what happened, and oftentimes it certainly impacted my officers to feel like they were being disrespected or not, that somehow they were at fault for what occurred. And I spent a lot of time ensuring that, and making sure they knew that the one thing that did not fail that day was the courage of the men and women of this police department.
Well, I'm sure I speak for everybody up here in saying we agree with that. So thank you. Ms. Gibson, the Senate Rules and Homeland Security Joint Report recommended the board streamline its policies and procedures. In last Congress, you took steps to address this, including implementing an electronic approval process. I just want you to comment on what steps the board is taking to make sure the board is responsive to department requests and how that's going.
Thank you, Senator. So the electronic approvals was a big one. Previously, requests from the department were hand-walked around to various members of the board for them to sign things. We can now sign things electronically, and I've seen instances where, within 5 minutes, every electronic signature is in. I would say also we do not need to wait for a formal board meeting to field a request from the department or to make a decision. And there have been any number of occasions when a member of the board has raised an issue that they thought needed immediate discussion, and we are able to convene a meeting either virtually or in person to ensure that is discussed. We are looking at other ways in which we might further expedite and streamline. I think some of the recommendations to remove some of the tactical decision-making from the board are good ones that would help to enhance our ability to really focus on strategic things.
Okay, thank you very much. My time.
Thank you. Representative Torres is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Senator Amy Klobuchar, for being